By the way, did the face of that bearded corpse strike a responsive chord in you?
No, I've never seen the fellow before.
I think I know him. The beard threw me at first. It must be recent. But I'm certain he's a refugee named George Renault.
Mr. Taylor?
Oh, doctor, is she going to be all right?
Yes, Mr. Taylor, she's going to be all right.
Oh, can I see her?
For a moment, yes. But no longer. She's exhausted.
Mary, darling.
Oh, hello, Sandy, dear. Hello, Greg.
How do you feel, Mary?
Awful. Rather as if I've been trying to rumble with a hurricane.
Oh, you poor darling.
Oh, don't worry, Sandy, dear. I'm really quite all right. The doctor says I'm suffering from shock, that's all.
What happened, Mary? Last night, I mean.
I don't really know, Greg. I ran down the street, turned the corner, and saw a light in the house. The only one that did have a light. The door was open. I walked in, and suddenly something hit me on the back of the head. And that's all I knew until just now.
Oh, Mary.
Except that squadrons and squadrons of twin-motored butterflies have been buzzing through my brain. Squadrons of them.
She's asleep, Gregory. Thank the Lord she's safe.
Yes, we'll come back later.
Mr. Taylor. Oh, hello, Lieutenant King. This is Gregory Hood.
Oh, how do you do, Lieutenant? The doctor tells me your wife will have to stay in the hospital a couple of days.
I guess so. I wish I could take her home right now.
Well, I'm not at all sure you'll be able to do that when she's well, Mr. Taylor.
Oh, what are you driving at, Lieutenant?
I may have to book her on suspicion of murder, Mr. Hood.
Suspicion? Oh, Lieutenant, are you crazy?
No, but your wife may be. We found her fingerprints on the dagger that was sticking in the dead man's chest.
But the blow on her head, Lieutenant. She was knocked cold by a blow on the back of the head.
That's her story, Mr. Hood. But I just talked to the doctor. He tells me there's absolutely no evidence of her having had a blow on the head at all.
You are back again, my friend, Mr. Cummings.
Thank you, Professor Meyer.
What did you find out at the House of Mystery, Mayor?
Quite a number of things, Professor, including my wife and the corpse.
Your wife and the corpse? I knew it. It is a house of evil.
I also found this book, Professor Meyer. It was lying under Mrs. Taylor's unconscious body. I thought it would interest you.
This is a 16th century book. The House of the Mirror of Malevolence. This confirms my suspicion as to that house next door. This is a book. A book, a grimoire.
What's a grimoire, Professor Meyer?
I think Mr. Hood knows, don't you?
I think so. It's a handbook of black magic. A collection of all the most evil and supposedly potent spells, isn't it?
Correct, my friend. And this book, this Mirror of Malevolence, is one of the most celebrated and horrible of all grimoires. As a scholar, Mr. Hood, I would beg you to give this book to the university library. As a man, I say, burn it.
I can do neither at the moment, Professor. I must study it. Within these worm-eaten covers lies the answer to murder.
Driving me crazy sitting around the house without Mary being.
I know. Did you call the hospital, Sandy?
Yeah, she's fine, but Lieutenant King's still in residence there. We've got to do something, Gregory.
I'm doing my best. While you were driving the children over to your aunt's, I devoured the Mirror of Malevolence from cover to cover.
And?
I'm confused, Sandy. This case isn't pleasant. In fact, it's very messy. We're mixed up in black magic. Black magic spells a nasty, vicious, evil mind at work. And it means even worse than that.
Gregory, for Pete's sake, stop strumming on the piano.
Okay. I'm sorry, sir.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to yell, Gregory.
I know, Sandy.
What did you mean just now when you said it was vicious and evil and worse than that?
Well, I was thinking what the police might imagine if they realized this was a black magic case. If that scream you heard last night was not a death scream, but some part of the filthy ritual. Supposing Mary wandered in and something happened. Well, Sandy, wouldn't it be possible that she killed him herself?
Gregory, you can't believe that.
I couldn't, but Lieutenant King could, and I wouldn't blame him. What we have to get is a confession.
From whom?
Oh, I know from whom, all right. It's a question of how. If only this darn book would... Sandy, I deserve to be kicked from here to Sacramento.
What are you burbling about?
I've got the answer. It's right here in the book. Let me see. Yes, here it is. Listen. I'm reading from page 96 of the Mirror of Malevolence. How you may make a murderer confess his crime. In a candle of pure beeswax, insert the cuttings of the nails of the dead man. Burn this in the presence of the murderer, and the spirit of the dead man will descend upon him and torment him until he do confess his murder.
Gregory, I'm willing to ride along with you most times, but if you put any faith in that kind of stuff...
Never mind that, Sandy. I think this is going to work. Get your nail clippers. Then we'll go out and find a nice white beeswax candle. After that, I'm planning on playing a hot duet with Bill Cooper, amateur clarinet player. I think we may smoke out a murderer.
Well, I'm flattered you came back, Mr. Hood. What do you want to play?
Well, let's ad-lib, Bill. We might start from here. It's a little number I whipped up a few weeks ago. You all set, Sandy?
Yes, Gregory, I'm all set.
Okay, Bill, let's see where you can go on from here.
Right.
Smooth, Bill, and very much in the groove.
Now, Gregory?
Yes, Sandy, now.
Hey, what's burning?
A beeswax candle with George Renault's nail paring stuck down it.
Put it out.
What's the matter, Bill?
Put that candle out.
Grab him, Sandy.
I got him. Put it out. Let go of me.
Oh, no, Bill. We'll hold you so you can watch the candle burn. It's pretty, isn't it?
Go.
You feel him now, don't you? The spirit of the murdered man has descended to torment you.
Let me go.
And he'll keep on tormenting you, Bill, as long as that candle burns.
Cut it out.
Until you confess.
Let me alone. Put out that candle.
You killed George Renault, didn't you?
No, I didn't put out that candle.
It's going to burn, Bill. It's going to burn right down. Come on, Bill. Why not admit it? You and Renault played at black magic, didn't you?
No.
Oh, yes, you did. You admitted before that you had a taste for power. You thought you could get it that way.
I didn't.
And finally, you killed him because nothing could give you more power than human sacrifice.
I didn't kill him, boy. That candle, please.
You did, Bill, and when Mrs. Taylor walked in on the killing, you slugged her with one of those paralyzing blows that are peculiar to judo. It left no mark, and you planned to frame her for the killing. You put her fingerprints on the dagger.
Oh, it's that candle.
You're in for it, Bill. You can't escape. George Renault's murdered spirit has returned. It'll never leave you, never. Unless you confess. We'll burn candles until you've forgotten what daylight looks like.
But you don't have to blow at that candle. It's driving me crazy. Throw it out, will you? Then I'll tell you everything.
Mary, darling, how you feeling?
Still a little woozy, Sandy, dear, but fine. And Gregory?
Yes, sir?
You are wonderful. Lieutenant King tells me that you saved me from a possible murder charge.
I think you understand how it was.
Why should you, Lieutenant? Personally, I think you have a horrid mind.
I'm just a guy who works on facts, Mr. Taylor. Mr. Hood got a nice, clear confession out of Cooper. He keeps saying the dead man tormented him. How'd you do it, Mr. Hood?
By using a 400-year-old book.
But, Gregory, you didn't really believe in that stuff.
Of course not. It's pagan and horrible, but Bill Cooper believed in it. The only way magic ever appears to work is when the victim knows about it and believes it.
But what made you think it was Cooper in the first place, Mr. Hood?
For one thing, the fact that he'd been an instructor in judo. That would account for his being able to stun Mary without leaving any physical trace. But the real clincher was the scream last night.
I don't get you, Gregory.
Cooper said he thought it was the professor's radio. But there was a power failure in this area at the time. You told me, Sandy, that all the lights were out.
That's right, they were.
Sure. If Cooper had been in his own house, he'd have been sitting in the dark, and he'd have known darn well that his neighbor's radio wasn't working. He lied flatly, and why should an innocent man do so? Because he was in the deserted house, lit only by candles, and improvising on the clarinet. He didn't know about the power failure. But that didn't make a court case, and I have to scare him into a confession.
Gregory, dear, you're a very remarkable man.
Thank you, Mary. You're a very remarkable girl.
I thank you for saving me from a gas chamber.
Oh, think nothing of it, Mary.
But I do. And I make you a promise.
What is it, Mary?
Whenever we have you to dinner from now on, I'll set the table with beeswax candles.
Charming.
Candles without fingernails. And for the main course, Gregory, we'll have twin-motored butterflies.
Greg, that was some story. How did you know you knew so much about black magic? I'll let you in on a little secret, Harry. I don't know a thing about it. The only kind of magic I know is what my old father taught me. He did the most wonderful act of sawing a woman in half. but it never works with me.
You mean you couldn't master the trick, Greg?
No, it requires lots of practice.
Oh, and you couldn't find the time?
No, I couldn't find the woman.
Oh, no.
But, Harry, you must know a few pretty good tricks yourself.
No, not one, Greg.
Now, come on, Harry. How is it every time I come to your house, you dish up such marvelous meals and you're no cook?
Ah, Greg, that's because of the Petri wine. Didn't your old father ever tell you what a good dinner wine does for any meal?
It all comes back to me now.
And you know Petri wine is good wine. Why, it's got to be. Look at the long years of skill and experience that goes into its making. The Petri family has been making wine for generations. Winemaking is their heritage. A heritage handed down from father to son, from father to son. So you can see why the Petri business has grown and grown, so that today the Petri family are America's largest independent winemakers. Yes, the making of Petri wine is a family affair, and the Petri family has every intention of keeping it just that. So you know the name Petri on a bottle of wine is more than a trademark. It's the personal assurance of the Petri family that Petri wine is and always will be good wine. Well, Gregory, which particular page of the casebook are you turning to for next week's story?
Next week, Harry, I'm going to tell about an odd story that took place in Hollywood some months ago. It concerns a noted columnist, an extremely garrulous press agent, pardon me, and a very dead actress. I call the adventure Murder in Celluloid. See you next Monday, Harry.
You bet, Greg.
And in the meantime, if you hear of any place for rent or sale, will you let me know?
Don't tell me you're looking for a place to live.
No, Harry, it's for a friend of mine, a veteran who just got back. Believe me, this housing shortage is really hitting the returning servicemen hard. And if anybody deserves the break, they do. I think it's up to us to do what we can to see that they get first chance at any vacancy. Remember, if you have a vacancy, rent it to a veteran. Good night.
The Casebook of Gregory Hood is written by Dennis Green and Anthony Boucher. Original music composed and played by Dean Fossler. Gail Gordon plays the part of Gregory Hood, and Sanderson Taylor is played by Art Gilmore. The Petri Wine Company of San Francisco, California, invites you to tune in again next week, same time, same station. The Casebook of Gregory Hood comes to you from our Hollywood studio. This is Harry Bartell saying goodnight for the Petri family.